Hash between stars and heartbeats. Dr. Elena Vasquez pressed her palm against the observation window of the orbital research station, watching Earth turn slowly below like a blue marble suspended in velvet darkness. 6 months ago, she'd been a xenobiologist studying hypothetical life forms in university laboratories. Now she was part of humanity's first contact team, stationed aboard the Harmony Asterisk, documenting the most extraordinary discovery in human history. The Zephyrians had arrived not with conquest or fanfare, but with curiosity and an almost childlike wonder at finding another sapient species among the stars. Their ship, a crystalline structure that seemed to bend light around itself, had settled into orbit around Earth's moon like a praying mantis folding its wings. Elena, the voice belonged to Kale, though his vocal cords had taken months to master human speech patterns. Even now, his words carried an otherworldly resonance that made her spine tingle. She turned to find him standing in the doorway of the observation lounge, his tall, willowy frame silhouetted against the soft blue lighting of the corridor. At nearly 7 feet tall, Kale possessed an ethereal beauty that defied human categories. His skin held a subtle luminescence, shifting between silver and pale blue depending on his emotional state. His eyes were large and dark like pools of liquid starlight, and his features were angular yet somehow gentle. "I was just thinking about home," Elena said, gesturing toward the planet below. Kale approached with the fluid grace characteristic of his people, his movements reminiscent of someone swimming through water. "Do you regret coming here?" "No," Elena replied without hesitation. "This is the most important work of my life, maybe of any human life." Over the past 6 months, Elena had learned that the Zephyrians were an ancient species, nomadic travelers who had spent millennia journeying between star systems. They possessed technology that bordered on the magical, the ability to manipulate matter at the molecular level, to communicate across vast distances instantaneously, to heal injuries that would be fatal to humans. But for all their advancement, they lacked something that humans possessed in abundance: the ability to form deep emotional bonds. Zephyrians experienced something akin to affection, but it was more like a gentle appreciation than the passionate love that drove human art, literature, and music. This difference had fascinated both species. Humans marveled at Zephyrian technology and their serene, conflict-free society. Zephyrians were captivated by human emotional complexity, studying their art and poetry with the intensity of scholars discovering a new branch of mathematics. "Elena," Kale said, his voice softer now, "I have something to tell you." She turned to face him fully, noting the way his skin had shifted to a deeper blue, a sign of what she'd learned to recognize as intense emotion for his species. "What is it?" "The Council has made a decision. Our study of humanity is complete. We will be departing in 2 weeks." Elena felt something cold settle in her chest. "All of you." "All of us," Kale confirmed. "It is our way. We learn, we document, we move on. And that's it, after everything we've shared, everything we've learned from each other." Kale was quiet for a long moment, his large eyes studying her face. "Not everything," he said finally. Over the following days, Elena threw herself into her work with desperate intensity, as if she could somehow document enough to make their time together last forever. She cataloged Zephyrian biology, their reproductive cycles, their social structures. She was particularly fascinated by their method of reproduction, a complex process that involved the conscious decision to combine genetic material, followed by a gestation period that occurred partially outside the body in specialized crystalline chambers. But it was during one of these late-night research sessions that Kale made an extraordinary proposal. "Your species and mine," he said, materializing in her laboratory with his characteristic silent grace. "We have wondered about compatibility." Elena looked up from her microscope where she'd been studying Zephyrian cellular structures. Compatibility. Genetic compatibility. The creation of new life that combines both our species' traits. Elena's heart stopped. "Are you suggesting?" "The Council believes it impossible, but I have been running simulations, studying the genetic code of both our species. There are similarities, convergent evolution patterns that suggest." He paused, his skin shifting to a warm silver. "It might be possible." "Kale, even if it were scientifically possible, the ethical implications." "I know," he interrupted gently. "But Elena, I have experienced something among your people that my species has never known, what you call love, and I find that I cannot bear the thought of leaving you behind with nothing but memories." Elena stared at him, her scientific mind racing through the implications while her heart hammered against her ribs. The risks would be enormous. We don't know what kind of strain it would put on a human body. The hybrid might not survive. I might not survive. But if it worked, Kale moved closer, his luminescent skin casting gentle shadows across her face. If it worked, we would create something entirely new, a bridge between our species, a child who could understand both worlds. Elena closed her eyes, torn between the rational fear of the unknown and something deeper, a longing she hadn't even realized she felt. Why me? Because you see wonder in everything, Kale said simply. Because you listen to our songs and hear music. Because when you look at me, you see not just an alien specimen, but a person capable of love. The process, when Elena finally agreed, was unlike anything in human experience. It required not just the physical combination of genetic material, but a mental connection that Zephyrians called essence sharing. Elena lay in a crystalline chamber aboard the Zephyrian ship, surrounded by a warm, luminous gel that felt like being cradled in liquid starlight. Kale's consciousness merged with hers, and for a brief, overwhelming moment, she experienced the universe through his eyes. She felt the songs of distant stars, the slow dance of planets around their suns, the vast loneliness of space punctuated by moments of transcendent beauty. And beneath it all, she felt his love for her, not the passionate fire of human emotion, but something deeper and more constant, like the gentle warmth of a star that had burned steadily for billions of years. The pregnancy that followed challenged every assumption about human biology. Elena's body changed in ways that defied medical explanation. Her skin developed a subtle luminescence, especially around her growing belly. She found herself able to perceive electromagnetic fields, to sense the emotional states of those around her. Most remarkably, she could feel the baby's consciousness developing, not just the random neural firings of a developing brain, but something that felt almost like communication. Dr. Sarah Chen, the team's chief medical officer, monitored Elena's condition with a mixture of fascination and concern. "Your hormone levels are unlike anything we've ever seen," she told Elena during one of their weekly checkups. "But somehow your body is adapting. It's as if the baby is helping guide its own development." Elena pressed her hand to her abdomen, feeling the gentle flutter of movement within. "She's remarkable," she said softly. "I can feel her curiosity, her intelligence. She's already trying to understand the world around her." "I don't know how I know, but yes, she's a girl." The birth, when it came, was both easier and more complex than anyone had anticipated. The baby emerged not just through the normal process of human labor, but in a cocoon of crystalline material that dissolved moments after delivery. Elena found herself holding a child who was unmistakably both human and Zephyrian. She had her mother's dark hair and eyes, but her skin held the subtle luminescence of her father's people. Her fingers were long and graceful, and when she opened her eyes, Elena could see an intelligence there that seemed far beyond her minutes of life. "She's beautiful," Kale whispered, his own skin glowing with joy as he looked at his daughter for the first time. Elena cradled the baby close, feeling an overwhelming surge of love that seemed to encompass not just her child, but the entire universe. "What do we call her?" "Stella," Kale said without hesitation, "for she is our star, born from the joining of two worlds." The next weeks passed in a blur of wonder and discovery. Stella grew rapidly, her development far exceeding normal human patterns. She could focus her eyes within days, began responding to complex sounds and light patterns, and seemed to recognize both her parents' voices with remarkable clarity. But it was her abilities that truly amazed everyone. Stella could manipulate light itself, creating small, dancing patterns with her tiny fingers. She seemed to understand both human emotional cues and Zephyrian harmonic communications. Most remarkably, she appeared to be telepathically connected to both her parents, conveying basic needs and emotions through direct mental contact. "She's going to be extraordinary," Elena told Kale one evening as they watched their daughter sleep in her specially designed crib, a hybrid of human and Zephyrian technology that monitored her unique physiological needs. "She already is," Kale replied. "The council has agreed to extend our stay. They want to study her development to understand what we've created." Elena felt a surge of protective fear. "She's not a specimen to be studied. She's our daughter." "I know," Kale said gently, "but Elena, she represents something unprecedented, a true bridge between our species. Through her, we might learn to combine human passion with Zephyrian wisdom, human creativity with our technological abilities." As Stella grew, it became clear that she was indeed something entirely new. She could perceive spectrums of light invisible to human eyes, communicate complex ideas through patterns of bioluminescence, and seemed to possess an intuitive understanding of both human and Zephyrian technology. But more than her abilities, it was her nature that amazed everyone. She possessed the depth of human emotion combined with the serene wisdom of the Zephyrians. She could feel joy and sorrow as keenly as any human child, but she processed these emotions with a clarity and balance that suggested she might never know the destructive aspects of human passion. On Stella's first birthday, Alina stood once again at the observation window, but this time she held her daughter in her arms. The child gazed out at the stars with eyes that held the depth of space itself, pointing at distant points of light with obvious recognition. "She knows them," Alina whispered to Kale. "She knows the stars." "She is part of them," Kale replied, "and part of Earth. She belongs to both worlds and to neither. She is something entirely new." Alina looked down at her daughter, at this impossible child who had emerged from the joining of two species, two worlds, two different kinds of love. Stella gurgled softly and reached up to touch her mother's face, her tiny fingers tracing patterns of light across Alina's skin. "What kind of future will she have?" Alina asked. "One we cannot imagine," Kale said, "but one filled with possibilities that neither of our species could have achieved alone." As if sensing the importance of the moment, Stella looked up at both her parents and smiled, an expression that somehow conveyed the joy of discovery, the wonder of existence, and the infinite potential of love bridging the vast distances between worlds. In her smile, Alina saw the future, a galaxy where the boundaries between species might blur, where love could transcend the limitations of biology, and where the children of different worlds might find ways to heal the ancient loneliness of space itself. Stella was their gift to the universe, a living symbol that even in the vast emptiness between stars, love could find a way to create something beautiful and new.